Thank you for joining the fun here at All for Animals. We're a growing podcast, so be sure to find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook at All for Animals Pod or our Instagram at All for Animals Podcast. Thanks so much. We'll see you there.
Hello and welcome, everybody. I am Rachel.
I'm Peter.
And this is All for Animals. Alrighty, so today we are going to be talking about some of the various dog sports that you can get involved with to keep both your dog and yourself active and happy and burn off some of that extra energy, reinforce their obedience training, and just have some good old-fashioned fun.
I don't know a whole lot outside of the basics of like agility and dock diving and barn hunt.
Okay.
So I'm curious as to what research you've uncovered and what further details you have for me. So much like all of our listeners, I will be listening intently to learn a thing or two.
Well,
so take it away, Rachel.
Thank you. So it's a good thing you mentioned agility and dock diving. Because I'm actually going to be talking about those two today, as well as Flyball and Treibball. And I have barn hunt on my list for another future episode, but I'm thinking that one I might have you do some research on, since you've actually had some experience with barn hunt before.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Barn hunt's cool.
Yeah.
Barn hunt's interesting. So
it definitely looked really cool during my research, but we're gonna do more episodes of this.
Sure.
So the first sport that we're gonna dive into today is agility. And in agility, your dog follows your verbal cues, and there can also be hand signals, to get through an obstacle course as quickly and accurately as possible. So this is the one that has like the poles that the dogs weave through, the big teeter-totter thing, the tunnels to crawl through, all kinds of like the A-frame, all kinds of nifty stuff. And treats and other like lure devices, so toys, anything like that your dog would be following, are not allowed. And the handler is not allowed to touch any of the obstacles on the course or their dog while they're competing. And so it is all recall and obedience. So it's a really, really good one for a dog that you already have like that really intense bond and trust and everything. You can count on their recall and just plain verbal cues for them.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Unlike, like conformation showing, agility is not breed specific or purebred specific, much like barn hunt and the dock diving, correct?
Exactly. Now there's a couple different organizations in the U.S. that oversee agility events, and one of them is the AKC. Now, for AKC events, your dog does have to be a pure AKC recognized breed and have those papers. But there are plenty of other organizations where absolutely any breed or mix is allowed. And it's really easy to find those even on just like the AKC website, and like there's national organizations besides AKC that oversee them as well. And I'm going to be including those links in our show notes so that people can find those resources, so that it's not just the purebred dogs that get to have all the fun.
Right. Yeah, no, I figured that much. I mean, when we did barn hunt, rather briefly, of course, my mom has rescues, so there no AKC anything on our part.
Sure.
But she was competing next to, purebred AKC registered dogs. So that's why I asked. But yeah, that's interesting. It's more of just a matter of like, your dog's recall level and their obedience level. It has less to do with like the genetics, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like fantastic.
Dog to dog personality. Yeah.
And I mean, the vast majority of these dog sports are going to be that way. There are certain places or organizations that will be more breed specific or purebred versus, all breeds and mixes allowed kind of thing. But that's simply because not being devoted to the dog's appearance or structure means that anything goes as long as the dog is healthy and able-bodied. So it works great for literally any breed. So I like that.
Right.
So,
Right. Absolutely.
did you know how agility actually like got started as a thing just in general?
No, I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know much about agility. It's great. It's so interesting. I
Yeah.
love watching it. Um, but as far as like the history or really like the nitty gritty, like what goes into it, it's just all right over my head.
Yeah, I didn't know much about it either. Like, I've watched some of the agility trials and stuff, and I do think it's really cool. And I've always wanted to try and get involved in some dog sports. And after doing this research, I think I'm going to. But I did find out that agility specifically started out in the UK in the late 1970s as simply a way to keep all of the audience entertained during intermissions at traditional dog shows. So it was literally almost just like a circus act to keep people entertained while different events were being set up in dog show world.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So so agility came to be before any of these nationally recognized groups did and associations.
Yes. It's kind of the first really, I guess, modern recognized dog sport. Like, I know that there are others from the past, like the fox hunt and things like that, that are not really done anymore. But there are variations of them that are done now, at least here in the US. Things like nose work, which I'm also going to talk about later on in this episode, and like sheepdog trials and things like that. But it appears that, and I could very well be wrong, but it appears that the agility it was kind of the front runner.
Okay, interesting.
So any breed can participate in agility, but there are some important traits within your dog to look for to tell if they're going to be an effective agility dog. And that's going to be an excellent drive, and that's going to be pretty necessary for most any dog sport, is that drive. They're going to need to want to be active and everything. Reading and interpreting their handler's commands accurately, so that's going to go back to the obedience training, the recall, and obviously for things like agility, you're going to have to teach them some more specific commands. If your dog can't be counted on to respond to your commands all the time and very, very accurately, then they might not be the best fit for agility, or it might just be something that you guys have to work on in order to get up to competition status, I guess.
Like that need to please.
Yeah.
That not even necessarily food motivation, just like that need to please, that desire.
No
to
food
please
is
their
allowed
owner.
on the course, so it has to be all verbal. And you want your dog to have good speed and stamina, balance and coordination, because they are going to be going through an actual obstacle course. So you want them to make as few errors as possible, and that'll get you a better score. You want them to have great hearing and vision, again, to help them navigate that obstacle course. And you want them to not be easily distracted by other dogs, because there will be other dogs along the sidelines. There will be other events going on and whatnot. So you got to make sure that your dog can still focus on you if there's other stuff going on around you.
Right.
Okay. There are even actually special training classes specifically for learning the ins and outs of agility, or you can also just join a local dog sports club. Some of the national organizations that, again, I'm including in the show notes, they'll have resources where you can find places to participate in classes, events, and even competitions. It seems like a pretty interesting and kind of melting pot of a community where, you know, you've got the people who are just like all dog sports all the time, and then you've got the ones that are just kind of there to have some fun, and I think that makes it seem much more welcoming and inviting for anybody who's really new to the dog sports scene, you know?
Oh, I agree. Well, and the biggest thing that I hear from people that don't necessarily have a purebred animal, or an AKC registered animal, like, okay, for example, my mom, when they did barn hunt, she liked the idea that she didn't feel like our dog was necessarily like looked down upon, which I don't know that purebred people really do that anyway, but there's maybe some stigma attached. And she liked the fact that some were purebred, some were rescues, and some were just, mixes that came about through, another third party. And that wasn't even, that wasn't even part of it.
Yeah.
It was just dogs.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of when, anyone starts to kind of feel welcome. When there's less of an expectation for like the look or the lineage or the history of your animal, and just, is your dog a good candidate for this sport specifically?
More accessible.
No, right, exactly. More and less judgment, which I think can kind of be perceived, depending on who you are, how you feel about, like, okay, for example, I think that if there was this division between purebred only and non-AKC competition, like if there were two different divisions of agility and you could only compete in one if you were this way or this way, I think then that just creates too much competition and it kind of takes the fun out of it. So I think it's a lot more lighthearted, that it's just about the dog. It's just about the behavior of the animal and how well the animal is trained.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely
all that really matters.
And then getting to rub elbows with people from different parts of the dog community is always a wonderful thing.
Right. Absolutely. Networking is so fun.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think people understand when you have a passion for anything, really, just making those connections and being relatable is really fun.
We want to amass all the crazy dog weirdos we can. Or I guess I should say animal weirdos.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not dog specific. I'm just bad shit animal crazy.
Same.
It doesn't really matter what. Now, is agility something that you would ever take up? Agility specifically? Is that
Absolutely.
a dog sport that you...
I think it looks really cool. And I mean, I don't think that any of my current dogs would be great agility candidates, just because Magic and Miyagi they're really old. Magic is just about to be 13 and Miyagi's going to be 11. Magic has a bum knee, and they are, like, Miyagi is extraordinarily food motivated, but he is way too easily distracted. He would just get so excited, not even by the other dogs, but the people. We go to any place where there's dogs and people, and he immediately turns into the biggest attention whore, just wandering from one person to another, demanding all the pets, and that's exactly what he would do. But
way too much stimuli.
Yeah, he's just too much of a lover. He can't focus on a task. He's got to go love on everybody. But and Logan, he wants to play nonstop. So he's got that drive, but I don't know if he has the discipline for the obedience or the ability to stay focused.
Logan's just Logan.
Yeah. At the end of the episode, I'm going to talk to you about which dog sports I think I would be most interested in pursuing, at least
good to
as
know.
we stand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm interested to hear that. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good little taste of agility. I think that all of our listeners, as well as myself, learned quite a bit, especially like the history. That's always fun.
Yeah, I like knowing where things started and how they got to where they are today. It's fun.
Right.
All right, so our next sport is Flyball, and this is one of the only other ones that I had even really heard of. I knew about agility, Flyball, dock diving, and barn hunt, and that was kind of it. I don't have, again, my dogs are like broken. They don't know that they're dogs, so they are not toy motivated at all. So they would not be good candidates for Flyball, even though it's one of the ones that I am most excited about. I think it's just really cool, especially to watch. So it's a team hurdle race, which, and a hurdle is like those little, almost looking like bridges or like horse jumps or something that the dogs have to jump over. So they are jumping over those hurdles down a little track to a spring-loaded pad that the dog then like jumps on or presses on to release a tennis ball. They catch the tennis ball, and then they race back to their owner with the ball. And each team, so each handler will have a team consisting of 4 dogs who run the race in relay. So one dog does the down and back, then the next dog goes and does the down and back. And the first team to get all 4 dogs through the race without errors wins. And errors are things like dropping the ball.
Right. Right.
And this is, again, one...
So it's a retrieving sport.
It's a retrieving and a racing sport. So it's kind of a little bit of, it's a bit of a mishmash of a couple different things. So I like it because I feel like it would be a really, really good sport for like the Aussies and the Border Collies that people get as pets and don't realize that these are like some of the most active dogs in the freaking world. And now they're destroying their house because they have so much pent up energy.
Right. Well, and I like fast-paced sports.
Yeah.
Like dog sports, human sports, whatever. Yeah, I like that fast-paced energy, and the racing is always like the relays and stuff.
Sure.
Like if you've ever heard of it, it's called Fast Cat. I don't know if you're familiar with that dog sport.
I have not.
But again, it's a racing sport, and it's just like the dog diving. It's really, really like fast-paced and intense, and the agility. So
okay.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of what gets me so interested in dog sports in general, is just how fast-paced they are. You get so competitive, you get so into it.
Yeah, I like that too.
Then,
yeah, but I do also have
absolutely.
some less fast-paced ones to help appeal to some of the people that might have puppers like my own that are a little old, a little not so agile and light on their feet anymore, and they are able to handle then they're able to participate without having quite so much demanded of their semi-worn out little bodies. That'll be a little bit later on in the episode. But back to Flyball for this one. Again, any breed can participate in Flyball, but the only requirement really is that they must be large enough to be able to trigger that spring-loaded tennis ball on the course. So extraordinarily small breeds like Chihuahuas, Papillons, they may not be ideal. But
I was gonna say, could you imagine like 4 dachshunds competing on one team? It's like
now a full-size dachshund might be big enough to trigger that tennis ball, but the minis probably not.
Well, and even the speed. I don't know that they would have speed mapped down either. Those little sausage dogs.
Yeah, those long backs might hold them back, but you never know. So
absolutely.
The traits of any good Flyball dog should be speed, agility, balance, a love of fetch, and of course, again, with the not being easily distracted by other dogs and people, because from the videos that I've looked at least, it looks like there's usually more than one team going at once. So they'll have like multiple tracks set up, so there's multiple teams competing all at once. So if you have a dog that's gonna go, "Hey, squirrel," as soon as they see another dog, probably not the best.
Yeah, right. I think that with most sports, the dogs kind of have to be A, not dog aggressive, and B, not easily distracted by other dogs, because
most
if you're
of
doing
them,
a dog
yes.
sport, it's safe to assume there's going to be multiple dogs.
Most of them, absolutely, you are correct. However, I have included 2 options for dogs that are either reactive or fearful and can't handle being around other dogs, because I do think that there should be options for every type of dog out there, and these dog sports are a fantastic way of building that bond with your dog and even helping them kind of come out of their shell if they are very timid and anxious or even reactive, aggressive.
Well, it just helps stimulate their brain, isn't that the whole
exactly
really the whole point,
and in a constructive way.
Yeah, it's a very good structured way for your dog to burn some energy, have some fun, do some bonding. Yeah, absolutely.
So my next sport is dock diving, and that one is pretty self-explanatory. Dogs simply jump from a dock into some sort of body of water. So sometimes it'll be a pool, others it's a lake or a pond, and the dogs are aiming either for the greatest height in their jump or distance. There's different variations depending upon the club that you're going to and even just the particular event. So for this one, obviously, your dog is going to have to enjoy water and be able to swim very well as being a very strong jumper and having great endurance. And they're going to need
Right.
an extraordinary desire to fetch, which none of mine,
Yes.
well, Logan has that, but not my two Havanese, Magic and Miyagi. They don't seem to understand what toys are for.
Logan could dock dive.
Oh yeah, he totally
He's just
could.
stubby. I don't think he'd get very high or far, but he'd have fun with it.
He would absolutely have a ball with it.
Yeah.
No pun intended there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of all I really found on dock diving. It's a very simple sport, and it's kind of explained right there in the name. But
and it's really competitive.
It is, yeah.
I know a lot of people that do the dock diving, and I mean, I have connections in the animal world to folks that got 3 or 4 dogs specifically for dock diving, and I'm gonna let you try to guess what breed she picked.
I'm going with Goldens.
Close.
Okay, Laps.
Little smaller, a little more slender.
Okay, Border
Give
Collies.
me one more guess before I tell you. Yes, Border Collies, you're exactly right. Yeah, so she has quite the collection now, and a lot of them do the dock diving because I think that it's like me and hedgehogs. Once you get into the dog sports, you just get so wrapped up in it, and you just love it so much that you just, you enjoy spending a lot of time doing it, and meeting milestones and goals. So
it's addictive.
Why not have 5 dogs compete? Exactly. Yeah. It's a fun little high.
Yeah.
So
I have to say, I mean, I've been thinking about getting my next puppy sometime within the next couple years. And I'm thinking as soon as I do, I'm going to make some kind of dog sport a priority with the new puppy.
I would like to as well. It's a very big time commitment, and
yeah.
maybe that'll be a later in life thing for Pete.
Yeah.
But most definitely, I would like to have a miniature poodle. You know me, all white.
I want a standard all white.
Do you want a standard? I just like the idea of something a little smaller I could take to work with me. A little bit more portable, being like with the breeding, I'm flying a lot, and just access to take the animal on the plane with me. Additionally, obviously, I would want to compete in grooming competition, and then I feel like a poodle's a pretty versatile dog for any sport.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I could do agility, barn hunt, fast cat, all that good stuff. So yeah, I think that's my breed of choice, but we'll get there.
I'm pretty sure we already knew that poodles are absolutely your breed of choice.
Yes. Forever they will be.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking my next dog will probably be a Sheltie. I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's a wonderful thing about me. You never really know. Who knows? Especially, I never know what I'm bringing home. If I go to a breeder, picking up one animal, I may come home with 3. If I like the personalities and the genetics enough.
I might honestly be more surprised if you didn't come with more pets than you anticipated.
Right. Well, you get this mentality, what's one more? And I think I've probably got like 8 or 9 what's one more hedgehogs. But anyway, off topic. But so what is the next canine sport that you stumbled upon doing some research?
Yes, so the next 2 that I have are the ones that I was just referring to, where you actually have the option of doing these with those dogs that are maybe a little bit older, a little less agile. Maybe they've got some arthritis and they're a little slower, or even they are the very anxious and nervous dogs, or even reactive and somewhat aggressive with other dogs, because other dogs are not required for these 2. So the first one is nose or scent work. It's known by each of those names. And this one...
Okay.
This is the one that I was kind of mentioning is a little bit of a derivative of the fox hunt, since, it's quite cruel to just sick a herd of beagles onto a fox. So people don't really do that anymore. We instead train dogs to recognize a specific scent. And that's usually apparently a mixture of clove, birch, and anise essential oils. And then there's a preset arena basically that the dog is set loose in, and neither the dog nor the handler know where that little scent bundle has been hidden, and it's the dog's job to find it, then alert their handler that they've found it and then go back to the judge within a set amount of time. And so similar concept to fox hunt, but it's actually only been officially around since 2006. So it's a really new,
fresh.
Yeah, it's a really new idea, I guess, for as far as like the organizations go.
Right.
So this sport is a bit more relaxed and less active. So your dog can kind of take their time. And if you do happen to have a more nervous, anxious, or even reactive dog, there will be no other dogs like on the sideline or anything. It's just you and your dog. So it's a really good way to build that confidence in the timid dogs and also help just get a more timid or reactive dog to kind of focus that nervous energy on something productive and positive, which is always a good thing.
Get them out of their shell and let their guard down a little bit. Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the best thing about nose work is that you don't have to even join one of the local organizations or anything in order to practice it. It can literally be practiced anywhere your dog can go, which makes it completely accessible for absolutely anyone interested in it. You want to start introducing your dog to nose work, you can start in your own apartment, your own house, your own backyard, wherever you like. You can just train them to recognize a certain scent, whatever it is, and start hiding that around your house. Hide it around your backyard. Go to your friends' houses. Go to the dog park, whatever. And then you've already started working on that foundation. And then if you decided you wanted to work in some competition, you can start dipping your toe in there at your local dog sports club. It's really like the options are unlimited with something like nose work. Right.
Yeah. No, I think it's good to have, like, especially like nervous pets, right? So you start
absolutely
and get them familiar in the home, and then, you know, obviously they're still a timid little thing. Well, they still have that familiarity of what they're doing in the home, kind of passing over into the arena, and of course that similar scent.
Absolutely.
So that might be something I have to recommend to my clients when they have questions about their nervous puppy, kind of breaking them out of their shell.
Yeah.
And something that's less competitive, so it's less pressure on the animal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that, and obviously some dogs like the competition, right? But
sure.
I think that this is a sport that's more geared towards older dogs.
It's more so for like the mental stimulation of it, and kind of like just building confidence and being a little bit just like not necessarily.
It's not a competition. It's more of a for fun thing.
I mean, it can be a competition if you so choose, but it can also just be a totally relaxed, we're just looking for a change of scenery type of thing, which gives you a lot more, versatility.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so the last sport that I have on here is Treibball. And it is a fantastic sport for herding dogs in particular. It is low impact, and it has a complete lack of expensive equipment needed for practice, and that makes it a great option, again, for anyone looking to try out dog sports, but with less of a budget, less of a time commitment to allow for it. Hang on, I've got Logan over here tap dancing around me. Go sit down, buddy.
Aww, Logan.
He's found his supervisor.
He's too sweet. I love Logan. He's so goofy.
He's decided he's my recording supervisor now, and every now and then he has to get up and stretch his legs and find one of his little toys and make a ton of noise.
Sure.
So anyway, let's see here. So it's low impact and lack of expensive equipment needed for practice makes it a fantastic option for anyone looking to try out dog sports, but with less of that budget or time commitment available. And the handler or owner will direct the dog from afar to essentially herd a set of exercise balls, or at least that's what they looked like to me, into a goal while they're being timed. and there's different variations to the game. Like there will be different numbers of the big exercise balls, and then different amounts of time allowed, size of the playing field, and stuff like that. And I just thought this was really cool, especially because, I mean, like I said, I think my next dog is going to be a Sheltie. I grew up with a Sheltie Collie mix, and I love herding dogs in particular. They just have a very
and Shelties are like such a slept-on breed.
Oh,
in
yeah.
my opinion. They stand out to me. I've got one. He's a double Merle, actually. Poor guy.
Oh.
And he is just the best dog. He's got the best owner.
Yeah.
I see him once a month, and I tell you what, and I tell the owner this too. I say, you know, for a blind deaf dog, he knows the routine, and he is better behaved for me than some of my other able-bodied dogs.
That's fantastic. One of my favorite dogs to see on my schedule is also a Sheltie. His name is Jax, and thankfully he's a pretty healthy little dude, but oh my gosh, he's so sweet and so loving, and he's also a once a month type of dog and does really well for the whole routine. His least favorite part is anytime I'm not touching him, so he gets sad if I'm not running the brush over him.
If I reach for a brush, or if I reach for my phone, or I have to text a client, he'll start yelling at me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, fucker, this is our time. Mom's paying for it. Better fucking brush me. Anyway, get off topic, but yeah.
So Treibball is one of the lesser popular dog sports, I guess, simply because it's still pretty new to the dog sporting community, and I guess it's just a little bit lesser known. And it's only been around since 2009, so it's even younger than Flyball that we were talking about earlier. And it's another great option for nervous or reactive dogs, since only one handler dog team are allowed to compete at a time. So your pup won't be dodging other dogs or being distracted by them on the sidelines or anything like that. And I have a quote here from professional dog trainer Diana Stearns, who is also the president of the American Treibball Association, or the ATA. And she believes that Treibball is a fantastic way to have fun and strengthen the bond you have with your dog. And she says, what I love most about Treibball is the process of watching the dog and owner work through the process. Since dogs can't talk, it's like in cartoons where the light bulb goes on when the character has an idea. When you see them get it, they really get it. After that, you can't stop them from pushing the ball. I just thought that was so cute. Like, she's illustrating how it's even addictive for the dogs themselves, not just us humans.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. So those are all of the sports that I had lined out for today. But now I have a few just kind of notes, I guess, about starting to work with your dog in any kind of sport or even just like training period. And that is like, so I know that most people's first question is, how can I work on training my dog? And my answer to that is always positive reinforcement. The best way to get your dog to do what you actually want them to do is to show them that you want them to do it. And the best way to do that is to give them something positive. So if your dog is very food driven, give them a high value treat, give them, peanut butter, those like liver treats, something that smells really strong, and they're going to get real excited about it. If they're more play driven, have a favorite toy ready to give them a fun little session with that toy, playing with that for a few minutes when they get something right. Or if they're more attention driven, like Mr. Miyagi over here, then you can just throw them a parade, give them all the lovin's and pets and scritchies behind the ear every time you are wanting to reward them.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, more often than not, even, with grooming comes training. You know this, Rachel. I was just at my vet yesterday, and she pushes her clients the same thing. Don't wait till your dog's 5 months old it doesn't need a haircut. Well, no. You want them to go to the groomer when they don't need a
Yes.
full haircut, and they can learn the table, and that we're not doing a full intense haircut. Don't wait until your dog's completely matted and it's a painful experience when they're an adult.
It's about that exposure, that positive.
It's about the exposure.
Reaction. Yeah.
And I think you know this, Rachel. I don't offer treats at my business. It makes me nervous. If the treats are provided by the pet parent, great, I'll use them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what your pet's allergic to, and I don't want to find out the wrong way. A majority of my dogs, a huge majority of my dogs, even the more soft-spoken ones, I can reward their behavior by petting them and telling them good job.
Oh, sure.
Every dog wants to hear that they're a good girl or a good boy. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that positive reinforcement, perfect for everything.
Yeah.
Just from routine commands and behavior all the way to working your dog into sports and competition.
Absolutely. It's like that whole carrot or stick argument. The carrot is always going to be the best way to get your dog to just want to do whatever it is that you want them to do because they want to make you happy.
Right.
All
they
right.
have this need to please.
Yes, exactly. So then I was just kind of wondering, did any of these particular sports that we talked about today tickle your fancy at all? Because I know which ones I'm leaning towards.
Well, so I learned a lot.
Sure.
Obviously, I hadn't even heard of Treibball.
Mm-hmm.
I have not even heard of it. Well, and you said it was newer.
Yeah.
And kind of up and coming. I've always been partial to the dock diving, agility, and barn hunt's okay. It's a little too slow paced for me personally. It is small animal involved, obviously.
Yeah.
There's rats. But like fast cat is another thing that I'd be more interested in. If I ever have the time to settle on a dog sport, it would probably for me would lean into agility or dock diving. I just think dock diving is the most badass thing out there.
Awesome.
It's really, and I can watch YouTube videos and I can watch these Facebook videos, and it's just as entertaining as if it were in person. So
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how into it I would get if it were my own dog competing and not just a friend's dog or a colleague's dog. So,
absolutely.
We
even have a dock diving club here in my town.
We do too.
It's really popular. It's everywhere.
It's very popular here. Yes. So now what about you? Obviously you think agility would be
I like
something
the
that you
idea
would
of
like
agility.
to get involved with.
But I think honestly I'd probably lean more toward Treibball. Just because, I guess mostly because the herding dogs kind of have my heart. Like even the Havanese,
Sure.
They were originally herding and circus dogs. They would herd chickens and they would be trained to perform tricks for circuses because of how unbelievably eager to please they are. So I didn't even think about it at the time, but I still managed to stick with my herding dog preference even when I got the Havanese, which most people don't tend to associate with herding. And so I don't know. I think it seems extra whimsical too, because you've got this dog just kind of nosing around these big old yoga balls or something. It just seems adorable, whimsically entertaining.
Right.
So I think that's probably what I would lean towards.
That's a good way to put it, where there's no pressure. It's just kind of laxed and run around and sniff around. Yeah. It'd be cute.
Well, and
it'd be cute too.
You know too that my dogs are the laziest little bums in the whole wide world. They sleep 20 hours a day. So
sure.
I think that probably influences my thinking on it right now, since the more relaxed and just kind of cute and fun atmosphere is just how things are with my current pups. But maybe when I get my next puppy, it'll be a little bit different. Who knows?
Well, and that's the beauty of game versatility. It doesn't really matter. It's more about the personality of the animal you get, right?
Absolutely.
So that'll kind of sculpt your ability to pick and choose what sport you want to do, and at the end of the day it's really up to the dog, right? So
absolutely.
Now, in regards to our listeners here, if any of you guys have ever competed in any sport that we have touched on today or not.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's something that really piques my interest, Rachel's interest, as well as like a lot of the members of the general public. So do write us in a story of either your experience or maybe some fun facts or even tips about
Absolutely.
getting started.
Yeah, we'd love to hear
I think that it's a very, very complex topic, dog sports. And this won't be the only episode we do.
Oh, definitely
so
not.
If any of you guys have more insight, me and Rachel have very surface level involvement in the canine sport world. So if any of you guys out there listening have a little bit more knowledge or, enough to create a story or an episode for us, please do write in. And Rachel, go ahead and provide the people with our email.
Absolutely. Our email is allforanimalspodcast@gmail.com, and you can find us on Facebook at All for Animals Pod, and we are All for Animals Podcast on Instagram. And I was going to mention too, just think about your pup's specific interests. Like Peter's said a couple times, it's all about your individual dog. See if you'd like to try any of these sports out. Local dog clubs are a fantastic resource for learning and even just observing some of the classes if you're just trying to get a feel for it. And the AKC website also has some great information to find those clubs as well as competitions and events. And I'm going to be including some links so that everybody can check those out. And you can even find local clubs, trainers, events, all kinds of resources.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's definitely something to give a crack at for sure. I think everyone should just give it a try.
Yeah.
And again, it's like it's a good way to make human friends too.
Oh
in
yeah.
my opinion, because there's already if you're interested in the same dog sport someone else is, well, there's a common interest that could spark a friendship. So,
there's so much community.
Absolutely. And nevertheless, we always appreciate everyone tuning in, listening, writing us, and kind of keeping the podcast up and moving and thriving. So
Hell yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And until next time, pet people.
All right. See you guys next week.